From Virginia is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today as a member of the House Armed Services Committee and as chairman of the Readiness Subcommittee to voice my support for House Resolution 644. And I'd like to thank the chairman for his leadership in bringing this to the floor. And I respect deeply the ranking member, but adamantly disagree with him on the points that he makes about this piece of legislation. And very simply stated, the prisoner swap authorized by the President to exchange 5 Taliban captives for Sergeant Bergdahl was illegal. That part of the law was not followed, pretty plain and simple. And by failing to notify the Congress in accordance with the 30-day reporting requirement, our President acted outside of the law. Clearly, it wasn't authorized and the law was ignored. Now, you can make arguments about what other prerogatives he had, but you can't say, well, Article 2 we'll put in place and that trumps other areas of the law. I think you have to say that this law was disregarded. And our Constitution outlines those separations of powers. And this principle is the cornerstone of our democracy. Our framers carefully incorporated the divisions of government and the responsibilities there in order to protect citizens by preventing any one branch of government from overreach and abuse of power. That's why we're here, is to have these type of debates and say the President clearly acted outside of the law. And I'll make this even clearer. Congress makes the laws. The President, on the other hand, has a constitutional charge of ensuring the laws are faithfully executed. Not just part of them, but all of them. And in this case, the President knowingly and willfully disregarded his constitutional duties, and Americans deserve better. Americans expect that their President will uphold his end of the constitutional bargain. And Americans expect that the laws of the land apply to everyone and that they are applied properly in accordance with the direction from Congress. Americans also expect that their congressional leaders are simply not going to shrug their shoulders and look the other way. Congress has an obligation to the people to ensure that its laws are enforced. That's why we were elected. And our nation remains today at a tipping point in this world's history in a war against terrorism. The unlawful release of 5 Taliban prisoners, some of whom will certainly return to the battlefield, deeply concerns me. An investigation I led in 2012 indicated at the time that 27% returned to the battlefield. That's why I remain skeptical of the administration's assessment that the released prisoners will not pose a threat to our national security. We have no idea how much more terror these men now might unleash and what impacts they will have on the lives of others. By ignoring the law, the President has decided that he's going to shoulder this responsibility. I argue he had an obligation under the law to consult Congress in doing this. That's why it was put into the National Defense Authorization Act. We live in a nation where people expect their elected leaders to carry out their duties as the Constitution directs them. And every day, each of us is entrusted by the public to uphold the Constitution, and we must live up to that obligation. Mr. Speaker, I fully support House Resolution 644 and urge my colleagues to support this institution and our Constitution.